Hi, welcome to Senior Moment, Successful Aging. I'm your host, Mary Beals-Luedtke. I'm the Area Agency on Aging Director, and you can reach us toll-free at 877-521-3500. This show is co-sponsored with the Division of Lifelong Learning at Yavapai College. Our producer is Nancy Bennett, and Nancy does a lot of the behind-the-scene work along with my assistant, Curtis Kegley. You can reach Nancy at 928-717-7607. If you have questions about today's show, or if you have some ideas about a show you'd like to see in the future, please give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Again, I'm Mary Beals-Luedtke, and welcome to Senior Moment. Our guest today is Charlotte Fox. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, and thank you so much for inviting me today.
My pleasure. It's really nice to meet you.
Same here.
Very nice to meet you. You have quite a story to tell, and a book that we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So something happened to you about 12 years ago.
Yeah. Yes, it was probably the worst day of my life so far. And my husband, he died suddenly of a heart attack in the middle of the night. And, you know, the chaos that ensued from that point on, because we weren't prepared for anything. He was only 54 years old. And it not only was tragic, but it just throws you into a state of being that you're just total confusion. You don't know what to do.
And it's all about planning, isn't it?
It's all about planning. We planned for nothing except for his retirement. And, so we just purchased a motor home and a boat, and, like I said, he was 54 years old, and this was sudden. And I had to borrow money to bury him.
Oh my gosh.
And it's just nothing that we ever talked about, ever. And so, yeah, it was quite a shock.
So he didn't have any advance directives, no burial instructions?
Nothing. We never talked. I didn't know if he wanted to be cremated, didn't know if he wanted to be buried, organ donor. I knew nothing.
Was there any family that you could ask?
Well, all of his family lived out of state. His mother and then his son lived in Texas, and they didn't know either. It's just something we just, we're like 80% of the population. We had no idea. No, I didn't know what to do.
And so here you are. How long had you lived in the area when that happened?
Since '82, I've been in Flagstaff. So
okay.
Yeah. So this was a shock, and you just can't do business as usual. Fortunately, I have a lot of friends, and they literally took care of me for 4 months. The first 5 weeks, I was on the couch, just popping tranquilizers, sleeping pills, drinking a substantial amount, eating a substantial amount of ice cream, and drinking beer. It was about all I could do for 5 weeks.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, and they would prepare meals for me. My friend is a CPA, and she would come over, open my mail, pay my bills.
Oh my gosh.
And all I would do was sign them and then go back to the couch and just, constant crying. And it was just, we were fortunate that he worked for the state of Arizona. So they have a default life insurance of $12,000. Mm-hmm. And so that saved our home. It took 6 months for his pension to start. Why the snafu there, we never understood that. And so it was pretty tough. It was pretty
I'm really
hard.
Sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
But you did something with it.
I did.
And that's why you're here today.
I did.
To share what you did. How did you decide to move in the direction that you moved, and how did that start? Yeah.
Well, after 4 months into my grieving, I went to counseling. I started getting counseling.
Good.
I was healthy enough to get out of the house, and you just hate to leave the house because you're coming back to something empty, and so that's pretty, depressing. So I started counseling, and when I graduated from one-on-one counseling to group counseling is when I discovered that there's a real serious problem. I was 8 months into my process, and so I met some amazing, wonderful people, but everyone in that room with me had a situation that had they planned for one of them dying, they wouldn't have. And so, it causes a lot of additional unnecessary grief on the survivors.
It's already enough grief.
Oh, it's already enough, and then you try to function like normal, and you can't. So I went to my counselor and I said, something has to be done. People don't know what to do, and you don't know where to start when it comes to planning. My husband and I, like I said, we never even talked about it. Now, if somebody says, well, here's a guidebook for you. Go through the checklist and fill in all the blanks, and then you'll be, people will know what to do when you die. And so
you started your journey.
I started my journey. I called my attorney friend. I met with a funeral home owner. I met with other widow groups to find out where their particular problems were. And took me 1.5 years, and I put it together.
So you have a book, and then there was one, and this is a comprehensive guidebook.
Correct.
And it says here it's the 3rd edition of this guidebook.
Yes, it's the 3rd edition because I started this back in 2005. And I learned so much from the people that take my workshops that I have to keep adding more and more information. And so now it's to the point where this is good, and there's the additional information is on my website.
Very nice. So where can you find this book?
You could find it on my website at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com.
Nice.
And, or just call me.
What is your website?
www.therewasone.com.
That's easy enough, because then you can remember the name of the book as well.
Right.
So this is really about end-of-life preparedness.
Correct. And you know what to do to prepare, and then when you do pass, then your survivors take over and they'll know what to do, because it's for preparing and for the loss.
I find out in my work at the Area Agency on Aging that oftentimes it's not the client that doesn't want to talk about it, it's their kids.
Oh, right. Right. Well,
we're not going to talk about this, Mom. Forget it.
That's right.
Forget it.
Yeah, my daughter has made a few statements, similar to this. And so
makes it
you're
tough.
right. The children don't. My mother, we never had to express anything with our mother. She was so organized. The only thing she didn't have is everybody's signature for her cremation. But she had it all lined up. And she was an inspiration as far as, getting organized.
You're lucky, and I'm lucky too. My mother-in-law was the same way. It was like, wow, I had no idea she had all that ready to go.
Right.
And it really does make a difference.
Yeah, it does. It does. My mother was 98 and a half.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I had all her marbles till about 3 days before she died.
That is amazing.
Yes.
That's successful aging right there.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So she was an inspiration to you, plus your whole experience was an inspiration.
Right.
So, 8 months after, then you started working on this book.
Right.
And it took you, what you said, 1.5 years?
1.5 years to put it together.
Nice.
And fortunately, I know a lot of people that deal with this kind of thing. So, yeah.
You were able to bring those resources together, and then who published it for you?
Well, I'm self-published. Yeah, so
very good.
Yeah, through Lightning Source and Ingram Spark, and they're the ones that put it, accessible through Amazon and barnesandnoble.com.
And how much does your book cost?
$29.95.
$29.95, and it is extensive. I kind of went through there. There's all kinds of things in here, places for notes. And like you said, it is a workbook.
Right, it is a workbook. You got to fill it out, check off things as you get them done. There's 8 or 9 pages of solid checklists and numerous forms to fill out, and all of this just to help your survivors. You don't have any problem once you die,
You're done.
But your survivors sure do. And if they don't know what to do, where you have your assets, everything, this covers the whole thing.
Excellent. What a great resource for all of us.
Yeah.
I want to spend some more time looking through this. Do you also address in here in your checklists that whole idea of legacy? And, you know, I know 5 wishes is an example of writing down wisdom for your children.
Right, right. Yeah, I met a wonderful woman in a workshop, and she says you need to put in there also about, you know, what you've learned during your lifetime.
Yes.
And what you know, that all is all in there.
Excellent.
And yeah, she was.
I'm putting my glasses on.
There you go.
I gotta see this.
Yeah, that's way in the back of the book.
Nice, nice.
And yeah, and I give room for that, and you know.
So, what is your main audience? Is it a younger audience?
No.
Or quite elderly?
Well, I'd say, middle-aged like us, maybe. I don't know.
I'm 61. Is that middle-aged? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. And but what we're finding is that if you're 18 years old, you at least need your health care power of attorney.
Well said.
You know, yes, there are statutes, you know, in place, but you'd save a lot of problems if you have at least that when you're 18 years old. An 18-year-old might not have personal property to be bothered with or anything like that, but even if they do, you know, write down who you might want to give your things to. But yes, age, death and dying and incapacitation, it does not discriminate.
No, it does not. And, you know, honestly, I think it should be a class in high school. Because a lot of the 18-year-olds are in high school.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
You know, talking about retirement, looking at retirement, but then also looking at death and dying and incapacitation.
To prepare for it, because if you don't prepare and your survivors or your other loved ones need to get the situation handled in court, you're looking at thousands of dollars to set the wheels in motion so that you could take care of them and have the legal basis to do this.
You know, this is a good, and so do you have some resources in here as well for the area? Like here we have relatives and friends to call. That's a good idea.
Right, right. And since you can't conduct yourself, you can't conduct business as usual for many months, your loved ones could look in there, they know who to call. Call doctors or write them a note telling them of the death. I got a call a month after my husband had died, reminding him of his doctor appointment. And so, you know, that sets you back.
Sure,
you know, one step forward, 2 steps back. And, you know, no, it's, people could handle all of that for you. I remember trying to make business calls, and I would say, yes, this is, and then I would get turkey throat as soon as I would get to the point where I would have to say that my husband had died, and and I couldn't, I'll have to call you back. And so a lot of times my friends had to make a lot of the business calls. You just can't do business.
It's too much. Because like you said, it takes you a step backwards.
Right.
Or two.
Right. And you don't, there's so much to do and so much business to conduct that I wrote the letters for people. All they have to do is copy them, fill in the blanks, and send it out to the different entities, you know, stuff like that. Because you can't think to sit and write a letter. What do I say? You know, you can't even function. I'll just get another pint of ice cream. It's all good. It's all good.
What flavor?
Oh, well, there's butter pecan and then the sweet cream. It was the,
Nice.
you know, Cold Stone.
Good.
Got a lot of business from me. Yes.
We all have our things that make us feel comfortable.
Oh, yes.
You know,
yes.
and I think, you know, all of us don't want to leave a burden for our kids.
Right.
You
Oh,
know.
you don't. And in fact, it was so cute. Maybe 3 years into this, you know, my daughter said, "Mom, you did fill out your book, didn't you?" I said, "Yes, honey, I did." But I'll do a class and then I'll feel so insecure that I'll have to maybe go through it again. And I went through it just a few nights ago, and I've, you know, I had to update a few things. So the book, I suggest using pencil. Things have to be updated all the time.
That's for sure.
Yes.
You know, because you may plan when you're 18 and live till you're 98.
Right, right.
You know, but at least you've got something in place. Where do you usually start? I mean, where's a good place to start?
Well, I put the checklist right in the front of the book.
Okay.
because there's so much there that you're not going to think of. And that's what a lot of people that have written to me about the book have told me, that it's just been so helpful because you don't think of these things. There's so many things like fortunately, I was on my on our utilities. If I wasn't on our utilities, you'd have to take a death certificate to the company to make any changes or to shut off power or anything.
And that's something folks don't think about too, is whose name is on what.
Right, whose name is on what.
Yeah.
How is your property titled?
Yeah.
I tell you, it's so exciting to me when the attorneys come in and really send it home, give the audience all the sad scenarios that they've had to deal with in their profession. And, they talk about how to make it easy, the beneficiary deeds, the payable on deaths, I've got it so simple for my daughter. It's just, and
if you have a large estate, then a living trust. Unfortunately, I see a lot of folks put a living trust together, spend all this money, and they don't need it.
Or they don't fund it. I had a girlfriend had one done by someone, and it wasn't funded. Her husband's on his deathbed.
Oh, Lord.
And it wasn't funded, so it really caused the scrambling. It got all fixed, before he died, but,
And it always amazes me when I speak in public and ask people how many have their advance directives, their living will, their medical power of attorney, and most people just look at you.
That's true. And
it's simple.
It is simple. That's an easy fix. That's an easy thing to do, and you have to make certain that you put them in a place where people could find them. Tell people where they are. I've got a sheet in here for that purpose, where these documents are.
And that's a good idea, too.
Yeah.
I just cleaned my office yesterday. I still don't think the kids could find anything. Just saying.
Yeah. Well,
because we have our own way of filing things and our own way of stashing stuff.
Right.
And you don't really realize, this checklist is, thinking of, is there a mortgage on the house? How's the house deeded?
Right.
Who do we call first?
Yeah.
Who do we call first?
Right. And, I put a note, the latest edition, I put a note in the back for people. For my daughter, what I did, I said, call my girlfriend first. She'll start the fire, okay?
There you go.
Call her first, then she'll get a hold of the spiritual advisor, and then call the, I can't remember what my own first 3 steps are. Call the insurance company.
Call my friends, notify my insurance company,
Yes.
and notify my selected body donation entity.
Correct.
Very good.
Yeah, call them, get the ball rolling, and then I have mine in a 3-ring binder, and I have all the car titles, the house deed, beneficiary deeds.
So organized.
Everything in there. I had a customer tell me one time, he says, I've got everything in a 3-ring binder, and in this particular sections, I've got what applies stuck in there to that section. He's more organized, I think, than I am.
Yeah, but everything's in one place. I think the hardest thing is finding things.
Right. It's all in one place.
And then also knowing. Sometimes people have, I have a little separate checking account that I keep to stash money in it, to buy gifts, that kind of thing, and it's not part of all of our other stuff.
Right.
And if I didn't have it written down, it might get just forgotten.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and that's very possible.
Safe deposit boxes. Now don't they freeze those?
I've heard 2 different stories. I've heard, don't tell anybody, just take your extra key and go in and get it before, everyone knows. I've heard that story, and then I've heard, no, the banks they really work with you. So I think it's up to the individual entity. Go to your bank, see what they require, and then you could take that from there. And because people don't, starting with the checklist, like my friend says, people don't know what we don't know. We don't know where to start because we don't know what's going to be necessary.
And that was my question. Where do you start?
Right.
And where do you start? And this has got things in here, where's your will and trust? What are your retirement plans? Do you have a pension coming?
Right.
The Social Security stuff, birth certificates, marriage licenses, life insurance policies. Wow. Health insurance policies.
Right. And when I first went to Social Security, I had no clue that our marriage license would be necessary, my birth certificate. He's the one that died. You wouldn't think to know that. So you got the whole list of what you need to bring to Social Security.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought about the birth certificate either.
I know. People don't know.
And it takes a while to get them if you don't have a certified copy. So it's a good idea, I think, for everyone to have a certified copy where they know where it is and they can get their hands on it.
Absolutely.
Because I think it took me 6 weeks recently. I got my passport, and it took me like 6 weeks to get my certified birth certificate from Iowa.
Yeah.
So you never know how long it's going to take. Call your county treasurer office. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you get
the widow exemption.
Widow exemption, and
or
depending
widower.
on how old you are, you get a senior freeze, and every situation is different. So you have to call them to see what their guidelines are, and it even varies with counties. So
I know the tax thing is an issue too. Unfortunately, my oldest daughter is a widow, and so that next year filing taxes, we all had to help scramble a little bit because you don't think about doing that.
Yeah.
And then a whole year goes by and then you're like, oh, I have to file taxes jointly.
Yeah, and there are, my friend who's a CPA also that paid all my bills all the time for me, so I could just...
Thank goodness.
Yes, thank goodness. She does all that, so I, call them, and your expert tax person will be able to take care of all of that for you.
This is a good idea. Open an estate account. I know that, if there's expenses and there's a trust or a will, you have to show, whoever's in charge has got to show what they spent money on and why.
Right.
And so you need to keep books.
You need to account for everything.
Yeah, you do.
Everything.
Oh, internet. Never thought of that.
Right. There's a whole page on there on, closing internet accounts. And so you have your passwords. I could hardly remember my own password. I have a cheat sheet at the house.
Oh, I have a cheat sheet. It's quite long, and I don't know what I would do. And that's a good idea because I don't know all my husband's passwords. So that's something that you need to have written down somewhere so somebody can access it.
Right.
Whether it be your friend or whoever.
That's right.
Wow. Inform the credit reporting institutes.
Right.
That's a really good idea. I never thought of that because some people find out, they watch the obits, and they'll find out somebody died and they'll steal their identity.
Yes. And
yeah. That's scary.
It is. I didn't have an identity theft portion in the book at first. And so I went to the sheriff's deputy and I asked him to please write something up to help us because I started seeing commercials on television about the identity theft of the dead. And so I had him write that, and when you talk to Social Security, they red flag the Social Security number when you talk to that department. But then your credit reporting institutions, they also do something.
Okay.
And so notifying them,
I wouldn't have thought of that because then no one can open an account using your Social Security number.
So, there's just so much.
Medications is another issue. I know when my dad died, we're thinking, okay, we have to dump all these medications.
Right.
First of all, we had somebody in the family who was a little bit on the addict side. And so, he had a lot of morphine, and my dad was sick for a long time. Then, after the fact, the doctor said we could have turned all those morphines back in and gotten credit for them. It's like,
oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's something I have to put on my website.
So, something about really checking with your pharmacist. Can I turn these back in, or do I need to destroy them? Destroy them. I knew how to destroy them correctly.
Right.
You don't want to put them down in the sewer system, all those kinds of things.
Correct.
And there's programs in the community, but I didn't realize that some of them you actually could have turned back in, and, I could have given my mom some money. So.
Yeah, see, I'm always learning. I never knew that.
Every day we learn, right? Every day that we're together. This is an amazing book. I like the fact that right in the beginning you've got that worksheet, but then it goes into all the details behind that.
Yeah, the details.
In here.
How estates pass, it explains, because people don't know, how that all happens. And
what does it mean if I don't have a will?
Right.
The intestate piece.
Correct.
All those pieces that people don't think about. And if we want to help our kids and help our loved one, this is the way to go.
And so the thing is, if you don't decide, if you don't plan, the courts will.
Yeah.
And at a very and it will cost your loved ones a lot of money to do that. So I don't know.
I'm glad you brought up the part about your mom had everything but everyone's signature for cremation. You know, and I don't think folks realize that the family does have a say-so, and you need to make sure that that's all done ahead of time if, in fact, you want to be cremated.
Right.
You need to make sure that the right paperwork is in place so that they can do that. Otherwise, you're going to hold everything up.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And folks don't realize what that involves. Also, you can meet with your local funeral home and kind of go through a pre-burial plan.
Oh, sure. They're so helpful. I met with them, and, you know, because I didn't know everything. We had to go back to that funeral home 3 times. I didn't know to bring clothes. I didn't know some of the questions on the information for death certificate.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't think.
Because you're in the throes of deep grief.
Deep grief.
Yeah.
And you can't think. So there's information for the death certificate, a whole form to fill out. Gives you everything. Fill it out ahead of time.
That's another thing I find from clients, that they don't get enough death certificates.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You don't realize, you know, that you really need to get a good amount of them, because then you have to go back. And it's easier to do it at the beginning.
Yes, I recommend people get 12. I got 12, and we have a house. You know, that was it.
Yeah.
But different entities, some will take a copy of a certified copy, and that's good enough as long as they see it. But I ordered 12, and I have 1 left.
Yeah.
So
you did well. You did well. I like the thing about the flowers too. You know, not everybody wants flowers. They want to maybe donate, have the family donate. So I really appreciate you being with us here today and talking to about this book and about your experience, because I know it's not easy to share that.
No. When I first started doing the workshops, it was really hard to revisit. You know,
see, and I didn't make you cry.
No, you didn't.
You almost made me cry.
Oh.
So thank you for turning this into a positive for all of us. And then there was one. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Charlotte Fox, for sharing with us. And again, turning this life experience into something positive. All of us can, you know, use this workbook. So if you need more information about it, give us a call, 717-7607. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtke. This is Senior Moment. Until next time.